Hi, welcome to Broker's Corner. Today we're discussing an important development between Greater Vancouver Realtors and the BC Financial Services Authority. GVR and BCFSA have entered into a formal information sharing agreement designed to enhance data-driven regulatory oversight and improve consumer protection. This agreement allows BCFSA to request specific transaction data directly from GVR when conducting targeted regulatory overviews. So the intent is to improve efficiency, reduce duplication, and ensure that regulatory oversight is informed by accurate and timely information. So there's been a few questions circulating about what this actually means for managing brokers and realtors, what's changed, what's stayed the same. So today I'm joined by Craig Munn to walk us through background, clarify scope, and explain what this means in practical terms for professionals operating in the Greater Vancouver market. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, so can you maybe give us a little bit of context about how this agreement came to pass, what led to this collaboration between GVR and BCFSA?
Yeah, for sure. I think at the highest level, I would say we're in a great era of our kind of relations between the regulator and between GVR. And I think credit's due to some new relationships. You know, shout out to Jeff King, our CEO, and Tolga, the CEO over at BCFSA, where they've really focused and had the organizations focus on really productive, healthy, collaborative interactions, understanding each other's roles. And with that kind of overarching kind of tone setting at the top has allowed to have conversations with the regulator to look at ensuring that there's alignment on understanding. Like, you know, from our side is really we wanted to convey that we want to support the regulator and we believe in strong oversight within the market, evidence-based decision making, and to see what can we do together to try and further that. And then on the flip side, what can we do to maybe make it a bit more efficient? Because we also hear from our brokers and members at large that sometimes the regulatory burden, the paperwork, and things are maybe not, they're suboptimal. So I could say there's probably room for improvement.
Sure.
So those were the conditions under which we started having these conversations.
Great. Well, many hands make light work, I guess. And so how would you describe this agreement to someone who has only read the headlines? You know, for example, what does GVR gain? What does BCFSA gain?
Yeah, so we really zeroed in on the brokerage data call that happens annually. It's coming up, kind of happening this spring as well, where they're looking for a deeper insight into transaction history, deals, a variety of information. So they call out to all the brokerages across the province and say, here are 12 or so data points. You have this deadline to supply this information.
Right.
And we said, within our membership, we think we can invest in our technical side and maybe streamline that and deliver some consistent information that covers that need. And maybe then we can ease the kind of reporting burden on our brokerages. So we kind of dug into the details over a number of weeks and months in conversation to really try to work out us serving up some really kind of targeted information around transactions on behalf of our members, providing that to BCFSA. And in exchange, there's a couple things. One is helping us by providing some licensing information to help with our operational work, where we need to just ensure that our members are licensed to practice real estate in British Columbia. So that was a great kind of inclusion within the agreement, and then as well to secure that kind of exemption for our brokerages in this upcoming data call, and we hope future data calls as well.
Right. So can you tell me a little bit more about that exemption? Because there's been a couple of questions floating around about when does it apply? Because I understand that there are some situations in which, you know, you would have to participate. When does it not apply? Are there areas where you don't have to do it and areas that you do? Can you maybe give us a little bit of a context there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, all we can do in conversations like this is provide kind of broad advice. You know, there'll be so many kind of what about this situation or that, that you really need to talk to BCFSA, or if you want to give us a call, if you're running into very kind of unique issues, just shout out and we can have the conversation. But at the broad level, here's the way it's structured. There's brokers should know that there are 2 data calls that BCFSA currently makes of the real estate industry. So the one is the brokerage-wide data call that I'm referring to, that is members are exempt for this coming year. And that exemption covers all GVR member brokerages for all transactions that happened within our territory.
Right. So if something happened in Fraser Valley or, CadReb or somewhere outside of, the Greater Vancouver Realtors territory, they would still be required to participate.
That's right. So if you're a GVR brokerage and you have activity in a different region,
right,
that's not covered under this exemption.
Right.
If you are a brokerage located, say, in Surrey, in the Fraser Valley territory or another territory of the province, and you did transactions within the GVR territory, I know it starts to get a little complicated, but that exemption wouldn't apply. But
right,
if your brokerage is located in our territory and the transactions occurred within the territory, that's when the exemption applies.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about the home buyer rescission period exemption as well.
Well, that's an important point to clarify. There is no exemption for the home buyer rescission period data call. That's a separate and distinct data call. A lot of information which we don't have. So there is no exemption for that data call.
So that still applies?
It still applies. I think it's about 10 data points. They want to know about how much money, and the kind of happening around the rescission period, the timing of the rescission period, and things like that. So that is still in effect. What this data sharing agreement covers is the brokerage-wide data call. So a little clarity is needed there.
Gotcha. Okay. And at a practical level, on a really granular practical level, what does this mean for managing brokers in our territory? How does this positively affect them? Other than, of course, a reduced regulatory, burden.
Well, I mean, I think that's really the key for our brokerages is what we wanted to do is not have our 500 plus brokerages all going out and having to kind of dedicate all of this time to this regulatory reporting. If we can do it on their behalf and it can free them up to advance their business and do the many other things that occupy their time and the needs and growing needs and demands. So it eases that burden. And then as well for our, like I said at the beginning, our desire to have a very informed, well-regulated, strong regulator who holds bad actors to account in the marketplace. Well, we can deliver more consistent information. It's easier when it comes from one source rather than 500 sources and 500 maybe different formats. Excel spreadsheets, Word documents. Like we can serve it up in a much more kind of precision way. So we think the consumer's better served through the regulator through this agreement, and brokers and by extension realtors are better served by not having that kind of burden of all having to report at the same time. Got it.
And I think the partnership growth between GVR and BCFSA is also a very positive thing, moving forward as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's even probably the most important strategic part is just relations are strong, healthy, respectful interactions with each other, and solution oriented. How can we help with their mandate? And there's certainly we're pleased to see such an openness from BCFSA to kind of find more efficient and effective ways to kind of interact with each other within the ecosystem.
Fabulous. And before we close it out here, is there anything else that we want to let the audience know about the new agreement we have with BCFSA, or is that pretty much covered?
I would just say it's year one, and we know there'll be questions and things. So and specific exceptions and circumstance. So reach out to BCFSA. I mean, they're the authority on it, but if we can help, if you're having issues, don't kind of suffer in silence, so to speak. Reach out and we'll try to help get you the answers that you're looking for in year one.
Great. So Craig, look, thank you for helping us clarify this. I think that the key takeaway for this agreement is, it's about improving efficiency, transparency, not creating new rules and additional obligations for realtors. And for those watching, if you have further questions, like Craig said, about how this applies to your brokerage or your practice, I encourage you to review the official releases from both GVR and BCFSA and continue the conversation with your leadership teams. As always, Brokers Corner is here to bring value and provide clarity on the issues that matter most to managing brokers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.